Yes. There's a great chasm that you can't cross. There's probably other parts of the chasm is far too good news. Jesus.
We're singing that.
If God didn't, I don't know what's the point of this. The chasm. What's the point of art this time? You can't cross the chasm. Jesus has to walk and cross the chasm.
It's really bad. He was playing something when I came in this morning. I was just like,
I need like red
my
marker
hands
or
are
something.
moving. Yeah, like Pavlov puppy.
Hey man.
Yeah, I was just looking at it.
Is that actually what we're supposed to be?
Yeah.
I guess we're just gonna have to live in suspense.
What is the hump of the road? Like the hills that you have to climb to get there?
This? I don't know. Maybe that's the prayer you have to pray and get right.
Right.
Amen.
That's high school. Yeah.
That's the prayer you have to pray to get to God. Jesus has done all the work except for
If we leave for a minute, don't worry about it. We'll be back.
Well, that's not really accurate. That's not historically accurate, though.
what?
Well, it should be a topic. It's not historically accurate.
You saying the cross is like this?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm fine with that.
The process is how it's taught.
Is that your whiteboard?
This is my whiteboard. So, yeah, there is a sign that says
Yeah, the Bible. Yeah.
King of the Jews or whatever.
I forgot.
All right, you good to open and
You said read,
open, play, and name the good, and then pray or something. I'll come up.
It wasn't it was an application. It's all big. It's all. Yeah.
All right, everybody, gather around the campfire. Sing that campfire song. I see you in the fire. Gather around, we'll get started.
Good. All right, guys. Blake asked me to share something this morning or read something this morning, and then we'll sing a song and move into Name the Good. This is something that I came across actually yesterday in a book that I just started, but I thought it was really, really good and captured, I don't know, just a really good thought of places that I've been. But this book is from a lady who used to be an Episcopal priest, and she's just the epilogue of this book. She's just kind of talking about her story and why she kind of had to move away from those things to where she is now. So I just wanted you to read, or I wanted to read to you a little piece that she said about kind of her getting called out of where she was and why. I thought it was really beautiful. But she says, "It was a good life for a long time, then it was not. Ask me what happened, and I can offer you a variety of stories that are all true. I was not a skilled leader. I was gone too much. I succumbed to compassion fatigue. I lost faith in the church. All these years later, there's another story that sounds as true as any of those, which goes like this. The same spirit that called me into the church called me out again, to learn the difference between the living water and the well. As surely as priesthood had given me a sturdy bucket for dipping into the well, and as clearly as I could smell the elemental depths of the divine mystery every time I bent over to draw some of it up, the well was not the water. It was a container and not the source. My Episcopal well, beloved as it was no longer enough for me to live on. I was dry as a bone." I just thought that was a really beautiful way of talking through the fact that sometimes we hold tighter to the structures that we're given and to what we're holding than the actual living water, and that sometimes it can be disorienting to move away from those structures because it's all that we've known. But sometimes the same spirit that called us into those structures to be helpful for a while calls us out of it to deeper depths of the real living water. And it's okay that looks different than what it used to be. I'm going to sing and take this as a time to just pause and reflect on this week. and we'll move into naming the good. I keep coming up short, living life like gold, just a shadow of myself. But I wanna let go. I've been digging down deep, trying to find who I am. And I'm so tired of trying to be somebody else. And I don't wanna hide no more. There's a power in me. I don't wanna hide no more. And it's setting me free. I don't wanna hide no more. I don't wanna hide no more. I can spend my life pretending that I'm better off alone, but I'm never really living if I'm never fully known. And it might take me forever before I'm finally old. I don't wanna hide no more. There's a power in me. I don't wanna hide no more. And it's setting me free. I don't wanna hide no more. I don't wanna hide no more. I don't wanna hide no more. Dear God, help us to just take a minute to pause and to reflect on the ways that you have been with us this week, and to share those with one another, to encourage each other as we walk through life together. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Anybody got some good that they would like to name this week?
I have a lot of really good opportunities coming up, and I'm gonna have to say no to some and yes to some others. And so this was Thursday. I was praying, and my prayer that morning was, God, if you're not in it, I don't want it. And so I finished my prayer, and I turned on my playlist, my worship playlist, and the first song that came on, the first lyrics were, "If God, if you're not in it, I don't want it." And I was like, okay, wow, that's I got it. And then I went to read my Bible, and I went to Proverbs. And I was like, well, today's the 16th. I'll read chapter 16. And this was the first verse. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. And I think it's hard to find times where you truly know that God's speaking to you. And I had one of those moments on Thursday. So.
I got to go to a bridal shower yesterday, one of my close friends, and it was really, really good just to see her glowing and so excited and so happy, and also just catch up with another friend that I hadn't seen in a really, really long time, and she has a new baby, and so I got to meet the baby and kind of see a new season of life for her as a mother, and this other friend who's about to get married, and just, I don't know, seeing my friends happy just makes me really, really happy. And so yeah, it was nice to celebrate all those milestones for everybody.
I made a new friend this week. That never gets old. I was a new guy that same place I work. I'm naturally skeptical of new people because I'm just like, why are you here, kind of thing. But he said a couple of things like in a group session or something. And I was like, hey, I'm like this guy. He and I might connect. And so like throughout the week, God gave us some opportunities to talk, and it was really weird. Like I found myself like in some like moments where I shared some vulnerable stuff, and if you've ever been in those moments where you start to share somebody you've never really shared, kind of gone deep with, there's that moment of fear of like, what if they just hear this and they're totally just like, nope, you're wrong, or this is terrible, or what's wrong with you. And like he took all that in and like returned it with his own vulnerability, and was just started telling me about his own life, his own spiritual journey and stuff. And so it was really cool, like to have. It's going into the week. I just never would have imagined. I barely knew his name, and then 1 week later, I feel like, if I had to go, if something hit the fan with our family or something, like I know that I could like text him to pray for me, and he would. So it's like, wow, how God brought all that together so quickly. So I'm really thankful for that.
We had a daddy-daughter dance last night, and Ellie really came out of her shell. So she like ran away from me and was breaking a move.
Nice.
And, we had a blast, and then Corey and I placed first and second in a daddy-daughter competition and got 20 gift cards. So.
Nice.
It was like they gave us a list of things to do, and we had to go through the whole list. We had dance and everything. And we may have started like a minute or two early. But, yeah,
Nice.
Drew and I watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood this week. We're always late to movies, so the Gilberts watched them, but they're 5 or 6 years old. So hey, if you haven't seen it, it's so good. And a friend of mine had also given me a book about the faith of Mr. Rogers, and I just didn't know he was this amazing, like incognito Christian, and it was just, I don't know. I think we were both pretty encouraged by it, and I thought about him and the way he impacted people quietly all week.
We also got to see, Abby and I got to see a movie yesterday, which is
Never.
the first movie we've seen in a theater here locally since before COVID, right?
Yeah.
So, a man named Otto.
Oh, man.
Yes. No, I was like, I can't. Like, I'm gonna start making noises and people are gonna look at
I felt completely blindsided because I didn't know anything about this movie. She's like, we should go see it. I'm like, okay, cool. Tom Hanks. Like, what's he ever done wrong? And then it was 2 hours of just like a lump in my throat.
Yep.
Just like when I told you about Dear Evan Hansen, I prepared you for
I
it.
know. I didn't know. It was like intense.
We thought it was gonna be like lighthearted
Oh my
family movie, and we weren't okay when it was over.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was really good, but we left the theater and like no one else had left yet. Like everybody was just sitting there crying, and we were like. We got to play code names last night with the family plus Gracie, and it was a lot of fun. Guys lost every round, but it is what it is.
We gotta go see Ant-Man with Blake and Taylor.
It was a lot of fun.
We also cried.
So emotional.
It's so moving.
Was it good?
I thought it was fun.
There's
some
It wasn't
moments
my
like,
top Marvel movie, but it was
Solid middle of the pack.
good. Yeah,
like the
I
last-
would say that.
8 Marvel movies.
yeah.
Yeah.
All of it.
Jonathan, what's his name? Majors?
Majors, yeah. Yeah, Jonathan Majors is gonna be the next movie star of all.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's incredible.
I'll watch him
The
paint.
villains?
I would watch him paint things.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
He's awesome.
It just felt.
Leah had some complaints.
But not with the company, right? Just the movie.
Anything else?
This is, no one cares about this, but I care about this. Rosie's been sleeping better, You're not supposed
Nice.
to talk about baby sleep because then it'll like
She's
blow up in
not
your
sleeping
face.
all the time.
But I got 7 straight hours of sleep the other night, and that hasn't happened in 6 months. And so I basically just feel like a horse, which is really awesome. So super proud of her. She made it until 6 a.m. in her room, and well, almost 7, and I was just like, I don't know what to do with this because normally she's in my bed at that point. So that was nice. It's amazing how much better you feel when you do sleep.
Tomorrow marks a year for me and Olivia being together, so we went to.
President's Day.
Basically, yeah, I love presidents so much. They're all such good people. Yeah. No, we went to Juniper last night. It was good. It was expensive, but yeah.
We ate so much food.
Yeah, it was a lot considering what we got. We got like 2 free things, like free
Tell
champagne
them
and
it's your
free
anniversary or
Madeleines.
birthday. They bring you free things.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ate good last
It's only $300.
Not quite.
Yeah. Anything else? All right. Hand it over to Blake.
If you guys are wondering, this is exactly what we're talking about today. So, what's better than math and scripture? You know, what? The equation for salvation. You guys just thought we talked about salvation last week, but it's actually this. All right, we're not talking about this, but I may draw some things on the whiteboard. The last time I used the whiteboard, I don't know if you guys remember, I drew stuff out on it and then I never talked about it. So I want to try my best to either use it or not use it. So today we're talking about stages of faith. I have this ongoing tradition now, the last 3 weeks. I write stuff and then I realize it's not good, or it's a spirit telling me it's not good, so then I rewrite it. So this is take 2 or 3 on this. I said we're going to talk about the death of Jesus. Why did Jesus have to die? We are going to talk about that eventually. But I feel like I was trying to do 2 things at once this week. So I decided to push that to another Sunday. So if you're here because of that, you can hang around, I guess, or I don't know. What? Come back next week. So today we're talking about stages of faith, stages of growth, stages of development. I think it's pivotal. It's actually one of the biggest things that has changed my life the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever. And it's hard to identify that for me, but if I could say in the last 3 years, certain things that have like radically changed me, it's this I'm going to give to you guys today. So hopefully it's helpful. But everybody knows stages. You guys know, like when you're like 15 and you go through a stage of like swoopy hair Blake. Some of you guys knew swoopy hair Blake. That was a while ago. Those are sad days. Or you're just obsessed with your image, or like other stages. You know, if you guys want to name some stages of your middle school, high school career, anybody, college, current stage, I don't know.
I had mint green Vans.
Mint green Vans. That's a good stage.
It's really cool.
I had a piano belt. That was a stage.
No, were you suspenders, kid?
I don't think I wore suspenders, but I did have a belt buckle. It was the seat belt buckle. I wore that for a while. Nice. It's a good stage.
Abercrombie and Fitch. Come on, somebody.
Aeropostale. Yeah.
Aeropostale?
Definitely wore multiple polos to church at one point.
Yeah.
Wearing double.
Like
The
the
bottom one incorporated the color of the Aeropostale logo on the front one. So pretty gas.
Any other ones?
Superman sign.
I
What?
Oh, way too many Superman songs.
It's intentional, unfortunately.
Oren said mullet. Is that right?
Mullet, cut the muffler off my car, thought it fit faster. It sounded like a fart.
Kind of makes sense.
That's good. I mean, that does make sense.
I had a third eye blind phase.
Third eye blind.
That's pretty good.
Grungy phase.
Grungy phase. Punk rock phase.
Green Day, that phase never ends.
I'm still in the punk rock phase. So it's easy to think about a season of your life 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. I think about like some of us, have kids, and Leah's talking about not sleeping. So it's like, they're not sleeping right now. It's just a season, just a stage. It'll be over eventually. Throwing tantrums, kids throwing tantrums right now. It's just a stage. Hopefully it'll be over eventually. Think about like you go through a season of like dryness in your faith. It's just a season, it's something you gotta go through. You're in your 30s and you're like working all the time. It's kind of the stereotype is workaholism in your 30s, just a stage. But like once you get to your 40s and 50s, you're thinking about you're getting old and you're getting wrinkles and XYZ. Just a stage. It'll be over. Well, after that stage, you're gonna start thinking about savings and retirement and just a stage. Our life is just a sequence of seasons, just a sequence of stages. And I think there's actually deep wisdom to paying attention to stages. I think there's a lot of wisdom to paying attention to faith stages and your development stages. So what we're talking about today is 4 stages of faith. And I'm going to hopefully use this. And what I'm going to do is give you some keywords to identify those stages. It's been so helpful for me, but it's not just faith development, but you can actually map it on to child development. You can see it very similarly. So all this stuff is stuff I've stolen from people and adapted for myself in other ways. So I'm just going to give it to you guys. But just some scripture to start us off. 1 Corinthians 13:11. You can write these down if you want, but I'm going to read them. 1 Corinthians 13:11, Paul says, when I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child. But when I grew up, I put childish things away. So I used to think this way, but now I'm thinking a different way. 1 John 2:12-14. I'm not going to read those 3 verses, but he says, I'm writing to you little children. And he says something. I'm writing to you fathers. And then he says something. I'm writing to you young men. He's specifying 3 different stages. It's really interesting. 1 John 4:12-20. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says this, let us love one another because love comes from God. This is very bold. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. It's a very bold statement. If someone was to ask you, like, how do you know if someone is from the Lord? Would you just put love up there? We have other quantifiers, like, well, you think this, you believe this, you do these things, it's whatever. And he says, God is love. Whoever abides in love abides in God and God in him. Big things. So I'm talking about 4 stages of faith. And I want to get through these, and I hope that I can just implant them into you. Every stage I'm equating with a song. So maybe that's going to be helpful. And if you guys have other songs, tell me, because I'm trying my best. Or if you're a movie buff like Kevin, if you find a movie in your brain that relates to what I'm talking about, hit me. So I tried, but I'm not good at this. Okay, stage number 1. You guys ready? All right, I'm not going to write the whole thing out. So it's called Simplicity, okay? This is the song I chose. It's Queen, We're the Champions. Are you with me? Lyrics are, we're the champions, my friends. I'm not going to sing it. My friends. We'll keep on fighting till the end. Because why? We're the champions. 2 times. We're the champions. No time for losers. You know why? Because we're the champions. What are we the champions of? The world. What'd you say?
I said life.
Oh. All right. Simplicity is the stage of dualism. Okay? Good, bad. Us, them. Safe, dangerous, friend, foe, winner, loser, clean, dirty. It's all about clarity. It's all about confidence. The values of being right, pleasing authority figures. The focus is just a strict right versus wrong. This stage sees God as supreme. God is often a warrior. God is the lawgiver. You know, those preachers that whenever they say God, they say God. God, lawgiver. The core question for this stage is what's true? What's correct? What do the authorities say? This stage sees belonging as I'm a part of the good, the right, the true group. There's a ton of strengths to this stage. The strength of this stage is high commitment. Dualism is necessary to grow. So map it on the child development where my son is right now, where Walt is. Like he needs some clear-cut boundaries of like, do not put your finger in the outlet. Like that's a very healthy dualism. That is not good. Okay. Don't run out into the road. It's a very helpful dualism. Like without dualism, you're not going to grow. It's a very necessary stage of development. The strength in this stage is that you have a willingness to like give yourself for something. You have conviction because like there is some clear-cut things in your life. There's also some weaknesses. It's often narrow-minded. It's often judgmental. It's often combative. There's like a false sense of certainty. We can criticize the section and say maybe they have their head in the sand. They see doubt as a failure or a weakness, sometimes even a sin. A big weakness in this stage is you may be willing to die for your beliefs, but you're also willing to kill for your beliefs. They see growth as like, why do you need to grow? Because if growth is, or like what's true is just in my brain. And so as long as you have the right password in your brain, like there is no development in your heart really. But here's the thing. Without this stage, you have no concept of what's good and what's evil. You have no concept of a basis. It's too fluid. It's too wishy-washy. There's no commitment to anything. Like simplicity section and stage of your life is so pivotal. But with only that stage, if you stop there, it's hard, rigid, narrow-minded, judgmental. Okay. Now, here's some examples. I told you I was going to talk about some atonement stuff today. Why did Jesus die? I'm just going to use this as an example. There's one atonement theory of why Jesus died called penal substitutionary atonement. It's one of the ones that we kind of probably all grew up with. I'm not going to explain it, but we could say that is the only correct view. That's the only one that's right. If you don't think so, then you're not one of us. Or you say opinions don't matter. I'm only in the facts. It's a very simplistic mindset. The way our country treats immigrants is often evil and inhumane. It can be very, very good. You can have very good and true simplistic mindsets. You should not put your finger in the outlet. Tattoos are of the devil. Republican is the only way to vote. The Democratic perspective of sexuality is the most evolved. And if you disagree, you're just ignorant. That person is a heretic. You with me? Spanking your children is the only way to discipline. My way of running the household is how it's always been. You with me? I'm trying to give examples. It's not just faith, it includes faith. But this is necessary. Like we need to have this stage of life. So this is how I want to upload this for you guys. As we walk through the stages of faith, this is not like stage one is really low and you're a loser if you're on stage one. It's not rungs in a ladder. So I want you to think of it as how a tree grows, has the inner ring and the outer ring, and it keeps getting bigger. It doesn't leave the inner ring. It keeps it and then keeps going. So stage one is not bad. And stage one is not like you're just stuck in stage one and everybody else is on stage 3 or 4 or whatever. We're all in stage one in some way. Like think about your own convictions. There's things in my heart that are very, very clear, black and white right now. And that's okay. Like that's very, very necessary. And so it's not bad. This is not rung one. This is just season one. Think about a season of your life. The first time you go through winter, it's going to be cold. Second time you go through winter, you're going to know you need some jackets and you're going to warm up. And so it's seasonal. You just know it's coming. It's how it always is. I hope you guys see that. But moving on to the next stage happens because you start doubting your answers. You start doubting those beliefs. You start doubting those authority figures. That person who told you can trust them or whatever, they failed you or whatever. You seek to discover more independently. You're not just trusting an authority figure to tell you something. You're trying to find other options that are on the table. So here's stage number 2. It's called complexity. Okay, so simplicity, complexity. You know a song I chose for this? Eye of the Tiger. Anybody? Come on. I'm just going to read you the lyrics, okay? Rising up, back on the street, did my time. Why are you laughing at me, man? Took my chances. Went the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast. You change your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive, because it's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight. Rising up to the challenge of our rival, the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night. He's watching us all at the eye of the tiger. Face to face, out in the heat, hanging tough, staying hungry. They stack the odds till we take it to the street for the kill and the will to survive. Rising up, straight to the top, had the guts, got the glory, went the distance. Now I'm not going to stop, just a man and his will to survive, because it's the eye of the tiger. Okay, there you go. I'm not going to do that anymore. This stage is about pragmatism. How do I spell pragmatism? Pragmatic. It's the stage of being pragmatic. It's a stage of steps. It's a stage of more information. You start to see things that are a little bit more complicated than just a strict black and white, okay? The focus is not just right or wrong. It's also success or failure. Like, you're a part of the best group. You're not a part of the right or wrong group. You're a part of the best one. Okay, you see the difference there? It values independence. It values winning, values succeeding. Often sees God as like the encourager. God's not just the lawgiver anymore. He's the encourager. He's a teacher. He's a guide to help us get somewhere. Life is like a game. You know, you're going to try to win the game. Core question is, what's the steps to success? How do you come to an answer? How do you be the best? Belonging is that you're part of the successful. You're part of the best church in town. Are you with me? Which we are. Just kidding. There's strengths. Strengths here is that there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's work being done. There's an eagerness to action often. There's some weaknesses. It's often superficial. Sometimes it's too pragmatic. It's too confident. They see doubt as something that needs to be solved and can be solved. So if you have a question, there's an answer to it. You can go find it. Now, a lot of churches thrive in these two stages. Like, we're going to give you the answers. Here's the clear-cut black and white answers, simplicity. Some churches take it a step further, really helpful, and they say, here's a Bible study. You can study the Bible yourself. You can come to these conclusions by yourself. Like, some churches like really thrive in this. There's an attitude towards growth here, and it's we have the most effective way. This is how we grow. Now, again, without this stage, without complexity, there's no study, there's no breadth, there's no responsibility, like you taking responsibility for yourself. Sometimes it lacks like more complex understanding. But with only this stage, there's arrogance. You see your study as the end game. Okay. Now here's some examples. There's 4 views in scholarship on how to read the book of Revelation. They're all held by Orthodox, Jesus-loving people. There's probably something true in all 4 of those, but this one is the best one. Okay, see the difference there? It's not just right or wrong. There's one that's better than the others, but you study the 4. Okay. There's the Republican side, there's the Democratic side, and there's the independent. And they all have something true in them, but this is the one in our world that makes the most sense. That one way of dieting didn't work for me. Here's some reasons why. And here's some other diets that are working better. There's more information out there. I'm doing some work. I'm studying the breadth. I'm doing my work and coming to my own conclusions on some stuff. Self-help reigns supreme in this stage. If you notice, a lot of mega churches, they do a lot of stuff like 5 steps to a better XYZ, better marriage, a better work life. Like, here's 3 ways to work alongside that difficult coworker. Now, we can't just bash them because, like, that's very helpful. Like, who doesn't need a better marriage? Like, here's 5 steps to a better marriage. Like, that's really beautiful and helpful. We all have those difficult people in our life. Like, I need 4 ways to help me engage with that person a little bit better. All that. Now, how do you move on to the next stage? Is sometimes you start to doubt steps. You try the steps and it doesn't work. Are you with me? You doubt those means to the ends. You actually fail. You start to desire and see honesty. You guys know the picture. Like sometimes we have this like just take the 5 steps to XYZ. Sometimes it just doesn't feel honest. It's not bad. It's just not. You just have that desire. So that's stage 2. Okay. Stage 3. You guys good? Where you at? Getting there. All right. Stage 3. It's called perplexity. Okay. Simplicity, complexity, perplexity. Here's a song. I got a couple songs for this one. The first one is Anti Everything. Lauren Gray. It's a good song. I'm not going to read the whole thing because she curses like 1,000 times, but I'm going to try my best. She says this: I hate drinking coffee in the morning. I know. I hate that place that everybody goes. If it's fun, I'll probably think it's boring, just like that song that everybody knows. So put your hands up in the air if you hate songs that tell you to. Put your hands up in the air, up in the air. Because I'm anti everything, but I love you. I'm something miserable till you walk into the room. Yeah. I talk a lot. What?
The tuck right this.
Tuck right this, yeah.
That's so funny. Oh God, that's hilarious.
There you go. I talk a lot of shit, but I swear you'll get used to it. Sorry. Because I'm anti everything but you. I'm anti everything but you. You hear what's happening? Like, I don't like coffee in the morning because everybody else does. You know those songs that tell you to put your hands up in the air? That's not for me. You start to get like indie about being indie. Are you with me? Bob Dylan has a song called "There's the Times Are A-Changin'." He wrote that as a time to create an anthem in the 1960s from the civil rights movement and the involvement in the Vietnam War. It's like a anthem, protest anthem. Billie Holiday has a song called "Strange Fruit." She wrote it with like very bold lyrics about racism. This is what someone said about it. They said, Holiday's voice rings with aching pain as she sings explicitly about the lynch mobs that killed thousands of black men, women, and children in the South. So it's a time of like acknowledging honesty and injustice in the world. It's an acknowledgement of what you don't know. The value is like humility. There's a sensitivity to those things. It's critical of steps and clarity and simplicity because that's not how life works. You were given like a clear box in simplicity, right and wrong, good people, bad people. And then you meet someone who's supposed to be in that bad people category and they're not bad. Like, has that ever happened to you? Especially like get it into the religious terms. Like you meet someone who's not a Christian and they're more Christ-like than your Christian friends. It's breaking boxes for you, you know. This stage you often live inside of problems and objections. Sorry, I didn't write the word for this. It's critical. Criticism is not bad. Critical is not bad. Values honesty, humility, authenticity, acknowledging bias, all that. God is often seen as like a mystery. So exploring the unknowing side of faith. The core question is, what's the hidden agenda or the bias or the information I'm missing? The belonging in this stage is that I'm one of the honest, I'm one of the thoughtful, I'm one of the independent individuals. You see how that makes sense? Are you with me? The strength here is that it's honest, it's critical, it's given itself to critical thinking. There's some weaknesses, though. This stage is often where you're uncommitted, you're aloof, you're cynical, you're suspicious, often depressed, and you're anti-everything, okay? Because it's of the man. Attitude towards growth is often, it's not growth-oriented because, like, you're suspicious of growth. Makes sense. But without this stage, there's no honesty and there's no humility. It's not authentic. But with only this stage, you're anti-everything. There's no hope, there's no conversation, there's no steps actually fixing something, there's no conviction. Like you're just constantly living in a dark night of the soul. So here's some examples. The question of like, does God exist? Is God real? Is God just a product of wish fulfillment, like a collective personification of our unconscious? Just asking these questions. Our political system is just broken. It's easy for you or for me to see the inequalities of our world. You start to think that there may be just no right political side anymore. Each side is just bent on self-preservation. The self-help gurus are just saying the exact same thing over and over again in different ways, and it's just not helpful. Most companies that we buy from and shop from, they're all making content and products irresponsibly, and it's so overwhelming because you start to notice it. Oh, someone's talking about theology, you just probably tune out or you don't care anymore because it doesn't matter. Can we be right about something? You don't trust the authority figures anymore. You don't trust all that. Is CrossFit really that good for me? Everybody says it is. I don't do CrossFit. You become indie about indie music. It's too well known, so I'm going to get even more indie. If that artist has like over 100,000 views on or listens on Spotify, I'm out. There you go. Sorry. Now, how do you move on to the next stage? You start to doubt your own cynicism. You start to get overwhelmed with your own cynicism and skepticism. You're overwhelmed with your critical thinking about everything all the time. I listened to Michael Schur. He's the guy that wrote The Office and Parks and Rec and all the good shows, pretty much. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he has a book called How to Be Perfect. You guys just do some study on him. He's an incredible person. He's really into like moral philosophy, and it's crazy. Anyways, he talks about like how overwhelming it is to actually do research on all the places that you buy from and shop at, because like you can trace it all back to something that's like not good, and it becomes overwhelming because it's like, okay, I'm not going to eat anything, I'm not going to buy any clothes, and it's like you just get overwhelmed with it. That happens. You experience your bitterness, and it's not fruitful, it's not helpful. Make sense? You're good. Everybody good with that so far? All right. The next stage. Next stage is called harmony. Okay. This is a shout out. This song is a shout out to both Corey and Emily. Emily's not here, but me and Corey had this thing where we sing "We Are the World." 25 years, Haiti. You guys know what I'm talking about? Me and Corey have listened to that song thousands of times, to the extent that we can sing each line and in the same way that the individual people sing it. It's a wonder. We could do it. Bieber starts it out, and it's incredible. Emily, for some reason, hates it whenever we sing it. So that's probably the truth. Here's the lyrics if you haven't heard it. We're the world. It's the song. We are the world. Okay. There comes a time. This is Bieber's part. There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There's people dying, and it's time to lend a hand. I'm really struggling to not sing this, so I can't do it. It's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We're all part of God's great big family. The truth, is love is all we need. Because we are the world, we are the children, we're the ones who are making a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true that we will make a better day, just you and me. You should go look it up. It's really inspiring. So this harmony one is about being integral. The focus is like, what's the point? It's integral, it's holistic, it's end goal oriented. The focus is inclusion. It values like finding connection, seeing things in wholeness, being compassionate, seeking justice and the common good. God is often just a loving presence through whom we experience and we live in him. Life is a gift. The core question is like, what part can I play for the common good? Belonging is that I'm seeking understanding. I'm seeking connection. I'm seeking the common good, even with my opponents and my enemies. Okay. Now, strengths is that life's a gift. Integration of like the questions. You had all these questions in perplexity, and you came to the point where you're saying, okay, man, I may never get all the answers, but I'm going to become someone in the world. I want to give myself to being someone with my questions. I want to jump on volunteering on this homeless shelter because that is a good. And I'm going to do so questioning everything, evolution and whatever is on your mind. You see the end? Like there's an end point. I'm still going to become someone in the world. I want to work on my anger issues with my questions and I'm integrating. There's lots of weaknesses. It's often arrogant because think about this. This becomes a new black and white. This is what I'm trying to show you, is that it's a big circle. Okay. After you get to the harmony stage, that becomes a new black and white. You know, those people who are asking questions still, it's a new black and white. You know, those people who aren't volunteering in the ways that you're volunteering, you start to look down on people. Those people who still care about XYZ, like it becomes a new black and white. You start like looking at your world in that way. So it's a big circle. And it's the second time you go through it, and the third time you go through it, and the fourth time you go through it. Now think about this. Without the harmony stage, you just get stuck in perplexity. Like there's no becoming because you question the whole process. There's no integration. Like you're not moving on. We all probably have friends, or even us in these stages. You got stuck for a while. You get stuck deconstructing. You can't deconstruct forever. You get stuck pulling everything apart. But with only this stage, you have no basis. You have no grounding. Like you're just fluid. Like you're not actually doing anything in the world. There's no structure. Now here's some examples of this. You come to the conclusion, I think there's immense things to be learned on both the Republican side and the Democratic side, and I think we should listen to both. My fundamentalist upbringing, this is a big point for me. I hope it works for you. My fundamentalist upbringing cost me a lot and brought some pain, but I see the good it also brought me, and I'm thankful for it in these ways. Okay? Simplicity is like those people. Complexity is you're learning options and you're discovering your own truths. Perplexity is like they're all liars and manipulators, and I'm not going to give myself to this. Harmony is where you take a step forward and you don't numb the pain. You don't say it didn't happen and it wasn't helpful, because sometimes it wasn't helpful. But you're able to see some good that came of it, because it gave me relationships, it gave me structure, it gave me all these things. You're able to see it. You walk in the subway and you see that person who's been talking about you behind your back, and you love them, and you don't dodge them, because you realize that they are just doing the best that they can and with what they know how to do, and you honor them. You see someone else goes to a different church because we're the best. You honor them because you can see how that's really influential for someone to be in a community and find life and hope and fulfillment in there. The end is love. The end is who I'm being in the world. So what matters most is who you're becoming, not just what you're thinking. So that's why you can unify with people who disagree with you. I'm capable of coming to my own conclusions on things and be confident in them. But at the same time, I'm totally okay being told I'm wrong, because that's the stage you're in. It's okay to be wrong. You're free to be wrong, because it's not just about who's right and who's wrong anymore. Life's a gift. You need to unite with people from other sides of the spectrum to combat the issues of our day, combat homelessness and combat poverty or whatever. You unite with people who disagree with you on those things. Maybe you're terrified of being a parent, becoming a parent, having more kids. That doesn't stop you from having kids, because experience is the teacher. It's harmony conversations, harmony stage. Theology matters. We're talking about what about stuff the next couple of weeks. It changes how I act and think and work in the world. That's why we talk about these things. Like I talked about last week, because sometimes some theological perspectives form more as a barrier to spiritual formation than others. So that's why we talk about the stuff we do. But at the end of the day, it's not just about what's going on in your brain. It's who I am in the world. And so I can disagree with someone and still practice the way of Jesus with them. I'm actually learning how to integrate other perspectives into my reading of the Bible and working that out into my life. Does that make sense? Integration. Now, what happens when you move on? How do you reset? It's when everything starts to become more cemented again. You're more convinced of how you think about things and see the world again. You start to doubt your conclusions. You start doubting your participation on things. Maybe you want more of that basis of that grounding and that conviction. Like, what do you actually think causes homelessness in our community? It's not just you participating and volunteering at the shelter, but like, what do you actually think? And that comes back around to simplicity. You're going to come to some conclusions on life. What causes bad things in our life? Like, you're going to ask these questions. So, stages of faith, here's my conviction, is that you're never just like in simplicity. I think we're often in all four at the same time in just different ways. There's large parts of me right now that I have very clear cut black and white things in my life that I will say like that is horrible that's happening in our world. And I need that. There's lots of things in my life right now where I am studying how to be better at something. I'm thinking a lot about like marriage and love and stuff right now. I'm doing weddings and stuff. And you know what I'm studying right now? These self-help gurus who are thinking about marriage and love. And you know what? It's so helpful. Like it's incredibly helpful. And it's helping me and Taylor. Because like I'm trying to learn it myself because I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to progress. I'm reading stuff on parenting a 2-year-old because it's so hard, you know? I'm trying to learn and grow. There's so many things in my life that I'm firmly in perplexity in. The people I'm suspicious of, the things I'm suspicious of, the things where I'll look at other communities, I'm like, man, they're just not being honest about that. Like we need to have honesty here and humility here. There's stuff in harmony. It's like, okay, what's the end goal? Like, what is it? Who are we being in the world? Just giving ourselves to the way of Jesus, trying to actually put flesh and blood as we walk in this way with my stuff. Does that make sense? Think about Walt growing up, okay? He's in simplicity in some ways. He needs that clear-cut black and white. Don't put your finger in the outlet. Don't hit your friends. Like, there's some clear-cut things in the world. I hope that he doesn't stay there. He doesn't need to stay there. He needs to grow through the stages. Eventually, he's going to know why you do not put your finger in the outlet. Like that, it's not just because dad says so. It's because this is going to happen. Electricity hurts. Not a good idea. Okay. You don't run out into the road because a car could come. Like there's reasons we have dualism in our life. Okay. I hope that one day, like we start having the conversation about like, hey, we take care of the earth and like we don't throw our trash in our yard and like we recycle and this is what it means to practice conservation and taking care of our planet. It's what humans do with pollution. Like we're polluting this thing. I want to have that conversation with Walt. So right now we can say like, hey, we don't throw our trash around. Like we keep our house clean because XYZ, you know, because this, we want to take care of our home. If I tried to give Walt right now what pollution means, he's out. You know, like he's checked out. He doesn't care because he's not there yet. What does he need from me right now? Eventually we'll have the conversation. And the harmony question is like, okay, how do we actually combat what humans are doing to the place? How do you unite? How do we jump on this? How do we practice conservation in our little house in Kingsport? How do we actually do this? You get to the perplexity stage, maybe when he's like 16, 17, 18, I don't know. And we start being suspicious of the man, you know, who's like giving us natural flavors in our food and trying to corrupt our bodies. And like, you guys with me? Those people, the companies, that's such a necessary part of Walt's development. But I hope he doesn't stay there. Hope he keeps going into harmony. We're all in these stages all the time. Maybe you can generalize yourself and say, okay, I'm mostly in perplexity right now. I'm mostly in complexity right now. And that's okay. Maybe it's helpful for you to do that. But I think we're all in them all the time. The point is that this is not rung 1. This is not rung 2, 3, and 4. 4 is the best. Okay. See them as the rings on a tree and they just get bigger. What growth looks like is that you keep your simplicity, but you grow into complexity. It's transcend and include. You go up, you keep it. You go up and you keep it. You go up and you keep it. You go up and you keep it. All right. Why does all this matter? I'm going to end right here. I got a couple of things of why this matters. This has given me a new way of approaching things in my life, topics in my life. Because my journey of faith, of growth and development is about experiencing truth. It's about seeing options on the table. It's about practicing humility through the whole thing. It's about letting it end in love. See the whole process? The way I think through topics is not just what's right and what's wrong. It is that, but it's also what's the options on the table and how can I come to these conclusions. It's also how can I see some holes that's happening and step into humility and honesty. And then what's the dang point? Like how can I actually put feet on the ground in this? Number 2 is this has given me a new understanding of just like where I'm at in my journey and being okay with that. Like being okay with the questions, being okay with the things that I see black and white, being okay with the spaces that I need the steps, being okay with the times where I have no faith, and like you wake up and you have no prayer anymore. Like that's just as included on your faith journey as the time when everything was black and white. Like the time you don't want to read your Bible, you don't want to be with other Christians, you don't have any prayer left to pray, you're confused at all the evil that's happening in the world. That's just as pivotal on your faith journey as all the other sections. So they're all happening in me. I look back at younger Blake when I was a lot more dogmatic too, and I have a lot of grace for him now. It's not because I was stupid and ignorant. It's because I was at a certain stage of my life. And that's okay. It's all included. I look through the dark nights of the soul I've been through. Lots of ways I feel in a similar stage of just like no connection to stuff right now. And I see it as a season. Oh, I've been through this before. And you put on a jacket and you keep going. It's just part of it. So however you're walking into this table, like this is why we say the things that like you're actually welcome here. Like it's all part of the journey. Whenever you have clear-cut answers, you're welcome. Whenever you have steps or an options on the table, you're welcome. When you have more questions than answers and you have more cynicism and honesty, you're welcome here. When you just want movement and growth and you want to have the point at the end, you're welcome. So maybe you need clarity in your life. Like see where you are. Like maybe you need clarity. That's what you need in your life. You need to have some solutions and some answers and convictions. Maybe you need more information. Maybe you need to study. Maybe you need to do some research and step in and practice some stuff there. Maybe you need to have some honesty and be okay with not having the answers. Maybe you need to rage against the machine. But that's part of it. Maybe you just need to see the whole point of something, get off your butt and go do something. It's harmony. 3, this has given me a way of looking at others that disagree with me, or I disagree with more compassion. So those people out there that disagree with you, it's not because they're ignorant or they're evil. It's just they're in a stage, just like you are. And just like you were, you know. They're in a stage and it's okay and necessary for them to be where they are. And if you're theming them, you know what stage that is? It's back in simplicity. So you're still there. If you're like, man, those guys are in simplicity. You're those guys in them, you know? So you're there with them. You with me? You see the world black and white, okay? They see the world black and white, that's okay. You still do in some ways. I still do. They're part of that mega church and you don't understand why. That's okay. I need that too. That friend who is off the rails, getting tattoos, reading Rob Bell, listening to like the inner circle indie music and not going to vote in the next election because they want to be a part of the man. It's included too. I think this is actually where the church loses people. Is a lot of churches succeed in these two, and that's it. We have no space for perplexity because we think you're losing, like you're not Christian. Maybe you never were, you know. I think it's my last one. Sorry. I'll get through these real quick. This has helped me know how to help others and love others. The goal is not to short circuit the process. If someone's in simplicity, they don't need me to kick them off the ledge with perplexity. Like, here's all the holes that you're missing, you know? Those people are just manipulating you. They don't need that from me. You know what they need from me? They need complexity. You have some strict right and wrong, black and white answers in your life. Well, what about like these other 4 views on that? What do you think about that? How did you come to that conclusion of what's right and what's wrong? What got you there? I want to ask them questions, help them come to, hey, the table's actually, well, what do you think about these other 4 perspectives on this or whatever? What do you think about this that's going on in our world? That like give people what they need. If someone says like they're really dogmatic about something, like I'm not going to just try to kick them off the ledge. I'm going to try to help them grow where they are. If someone's in perplexity, they don't need me to give them clear-cut black and white answers. Well, you're just wrong. And you need to become this, and you need to show up on Sundays, and you need to, because that's not what they need. They need me to see the honesty, see the holes with them. I have friends in this box right now. We show up, We get lunch together. They don't need me to rail with them. They don't need me to say, this is right and this is wrong. They don't need me to give them steps to anything or options on the table. They need to see that I also see the holes with them. I'm also going to be honest with you. I'm also going to practice humility with you. But I want to help keep going. Like let's keep going, you know? Like that's my push there. Let's keep going if you're in perplexity. I'm going to skip through some of this because I'm going way too long. Don't short circuit the process. With Walt, can't short circuit the process. I can't start talking to him about pollution right now. Maybe eventually, but let me help him grow. This is why progressive Christians are causing so many problems right now. It's not because they're just wrong about some things, which I think they are. That's my simplicity. But it's because they're short-circuiting the process. They want people here, and they're just barking at people to be here. Be here, be here, be here. Those ignorant people back here, be here, be here. And it's not helpful. It's not working. You got to grow. You got to grow through the stages, man. This is also why conservative Christians are causing problems. Not because they're just wrong about some things, which I think they are, to my simplicity, but it's because they don't allow the journey to keep going. Progressive Christians are trying to short-circuit the process, and conservative Christians are trying not to let the process happen. Does that make sense? Are you with me? We want people to stay here with our answers and coming to your own conclusion. That's it. But don't question anything. Don't come to any other conclusions and don't jump on their train, because you're going to be working with a Buddhist who's helping the homeless man downtown. Like, you should be sharing the gospel. So we don't want people to go to these stages, So there you go. Some people are evolving to the next. Like, you got to help people where they are. Don't short circuit the process. Okay. Each stage should invite the next. Okay. I know I'm going long. I'm really sorry. Each stage should invite the next. You don't teach people simplicity so they stay there. You invite the next. We don't just not hit our friends. It's because we're trying to love them and practice loving them. It's not just don't do this. It's here's why. Okay. Does that make sense? You invite the next. As important as black and white answers are, it's not the end. As important as research and pragmatism and study is, it's not the point. As important as doubt and questioning is, it's not the point. The point is love, who you're being in the world. You can teach simplicity with the end being love. You can invite growth beyond it. Love is always the end there. So the point is teaching where they are, inviting people where they are, but to grow beyond it. So looking at my son, knowing where he's at, loving him and serving him, this is giving me a new framework for that. Being compassionate towards others is giving me a new framework for that. Okay, there you go. How long is that? Too long. All right. I want to lead us through just a time of some questions to reflect on all this. So if you want to pick around or something for me, that'd be cool. I'm just gonna ask you some questions to help us reflect on these things. I know it's a lot. I've been sitting on this for a long time and just uploading it to you guys. But I'm gonna ask you some questions and try to reflect on where you are here. So at these stages, think about where you are. Think about your own life. Just in a generalization, which stage do you identify with the most? Break it down even more. And what aspects of your life are you in the various stages? I'm pretty clear cut and dry in these ways. I'm taking steps and learning options and researching in these ways. I'm really questioning these things right now. And here's some ways I'm actually keeping the questions with me, and I'm going to keep going. I think we're all four at the same time. So think about your own life. How are you all four? Remember, stage 4 is not the best. I hope this becomes a framework for yourself. You look at your own heart. I hope it gives you grace and compassion for others and where they are, because they're not backwards. They are where you are and are where you were. So here's how I look at it. Who's some people around you? Who around you need you to give them clarity? Maybe some people in your life you disagree with on some things, but they just need clarity from you. That's where they are. They need clarity. Who's some people around you who around you needs more information? Need you to show your work. That's the complexity stage. Here's how I got to that conclusion. That's a way of talking with someone. Who around you needs you to acknowledge what you don't know? Practicing humility with that person. Who around you do you need to help them see that the end is love? Can't just get stuck in skepticism and cynicism, but you keep going. All right, let me pray for us real quick. God, we want to be a space where wherever people are walking in, that they're welcome here. That we're not just saying to people, we're not saying to each other, be like me, be where I am, see how I see. But I pray, God, that we become people of love, that the end is love. The end is love. The end is who we're becoming in the world. That doesn't mean we neglect the rest or we short circuit the process of the rest. What matters is who I am in my simplicity. Who am I in my complexity? Who am I in my perplexity? Who am I in harmony? God, I desperately need grace and compassion for myself and being okay where I'm at. And I pray that we'd all have grace and compassion for each other and where they are. And God, my desire is that Mosaic would be a place that we give people a Christianity that grows with them. We don't give people a Christianity that's stuck in simplicity or complexity or perplexity or harmony. We keep going because we keep going. So Jesus, we're here as we are, not as we should be. We have more questions than answers often. Some things may be settled. That's good. Some things we're still figuring out and we're learning and we're trying to progress. Some things we just see all the holes and we're flipping tables. And some things we're just trying to get to the end of it being love. We know the end is love and who we're being in the world. And I pray that it's all included and we see it all as included. So Jesus, we're your people. We want to be Jesus-y people. We feel like this is the space that you're making for us. And I pray that this is just a tool. It's an imperfect tool. I pray it's helpful. I pray things in your name. Amen. All right, y'all. Cheers. Sorry about talking for 42 minutes. So, Stages of Faith. A lot of you guys, we've talked about this for 2 years now. But hopefully it's been fleshed out a little bit more for us and can be a framework for us. If anybody has any thoughts or questions or whatever, I had more stuff to draw, but it is what it is. So at least I used it this time, and I didn't just use it and then not talk about it. So that was embarrassing. I feel like I had something else to say.
You were
But
going to sing We Are the World.
that's right. I was gonna do that. I need Corey. There it is. We'll just play it for everybody. All right. Next couple weeks, I promise, we're actually gonna get into the what about stuff. Last week about salvation for Jesus, the point is fruit, who you're being in the world, not just what's going on in your mind. Hope this was a good framework for how we think about things and look at each other and all that stuff. Next couple weeks, I want to remember these things. Last week, this week, so we approach these topics. Next week, pretty much already wrote out the teaching for next week. So next week we're talking about why did Jesus die? Fantastic question. Did God have a moment in time that he just needed Jesus to come? Like, was this like plan B, with Adam and Eve? Like they messed it up, so Jesus needed to come now? Anyways, lots of stuff there. The song There's Room at the Cross for You? There's room at the cross for you. I'll sing that one for you. For you. There's room at the cross for you. The millions have come. There's still room for one. That's a good song. Good song. Man, I'm just going to leave it there. Think about that hymn for a week. In Christ Alone, there's a line where it talks about, I'm going to butcher it now. Sorry, I'm talking way too much. Christ Alone. Anyone want to sing it? Everybody just hum it. Oh, till on that cross, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. That's when you build it up. Did God just want you there on the cross, and luckily Jesus took your place, and now he likes you again? We have some weird ways of talking about what happened on the cross. So I'm just trying to create the problem. So anyways, next week we're talking about that. We'll talk about more things later than that. We're going to do dinner Thursday. We haven't decided. So, all right. Anything else you talk about?
I do have movies for all this.
You do?
Yes.
Hit us.
So, Simplicity, Star Wars.
Nice.
There's a reason why children can watch that movie immediately know Darth Vader is bad.
Nice.
Black, everything.
That's good.
Black.
Walks out of the smoke. Red lightsaber.
Yeah. Red lightsaber, black suit, scary music. Like, it is this side good, this side
Nice.
bad.
Nice.
Complexity, I picked a bunch of, movies with questions that ask you questions, or endings that ask you questions. Then I switched all of these to pop culture things so everybody could understand.
Nice.
Black Panther, X-Men, they have villains that have ways of thinking that you empathize with. Killmonger is maybe he's right.
That's good.
The way he's going about it is wrong, but maybe he's right.
Oh man, it's a good one.
Magneto is X-Men is my favorite thing because Magneto is my favorite thing. He is right about everything, but he just murders people.
He just murders people.
Perplexity, Batman. He is
Nice.
confounded with the world. He has everything worldly that is right. He has infinite money, infinite everything, but he sees only the pain and suffering in the world and wants to fix that. Harmony, pick the Avengers. The whole movie is them fighting each other, being bickering, and then they come together for a common good and move past all that. And then when I was thinking about that, I thought about Tony Stark as a thing of all of these in that movie. So he starts out, he's like, I'm smarter than everybody. This is right. This is wrong. Moves on to complexity, which is what was my point of complexity? Complexity is when he's having that conversation with Captain America, and he's I'll cut the wire instead of laying down on the wire. Where he's maybe there's more to this. Perplexity, everybody goes through that where they all separate after that big fight, and then they're just confounded with the world. They're like, oh, this is broken, the system's broken, nothing works. And then they all come together at the end, and Tony Stark tries to sacrifice himself for the greater good because he's learning that.
Man. Respect.
Wow.
Yes. That was beautiful. Maybe Kevin Feige's in on the Stages of Faith too. I mean, that's very true. That's good. All right, y'all. Cheers.
I mean, I agree with Thanos on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I agree. I think Thanos was right.
He's a really good guy. He was a good guy, actually. Avengers was out.
Thanos was the good guy, honestly.
And if you're purple, you can't be.
He is the
that, right?
Calvinistic God.
Like
He is
Barney.
the